Houston, say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome to this second E3 vlog of mine. This time it is Microsoft's turn and we're going to discuss everything that they chatted about and revealed in their conference yesterday. I was very tempted to do this yesterday. In Britain it was on at 9 o'clock at night, and by the time it had finished it was kicking on 11 o'clock. And I was quite tempted to do this vlog then, but I think it'll be quite nice. Well, it was quite late anyway, and I don't know that my fun factor would have come through at 11 o'clock in the evening. Not without a flagging anyway. And secondly, I thought it'd be nice to sleep on some of this stuff and just see what's stuck. It's quite nice to reflect on stuff the day after. When things are quite fresh in your mind, sometimes it's... Well, you have time to contemplate things, and you have to... Some things drift away, which is a sign of whether or not a game is for you, or you're going to be spending much time with it, and all these sorts of things. Funnily enough, looking through my notes from yesterday, a lot of it has stuck with me, so that's a good sign, I think, if anything else. I will apologise before we get going. I'm going to apologise in advance that it is a beautiful summer that we're getting here in Britain at the moment, certainly in the northwest in Blackpool. For the last 5 weeks it has been scorching and these videos are at the mercy of the sun constantly going behind a cloud and coming back out again. So if the light is dipping and changing, it is literally because of that. You can see with the blinds behind me, they're sort of the light comes through them, but there is a massive amount of light comes from the front because it's coming from the garden, which is just at the other side of the kitchen here on the back side of the camera. So if the light dims in and out, it's simply because of that. I am not in studio conditions, people. I am at the mercy of God's sun. So that's all that is, and I will apologise in advance if you hear dogs barking, if you hear ice cream vans. Not sure if you get ice cream vans in America, do you? You must do, surely. But in this country, the ice cream vans have these awful tunes that go off constantly. So if you hear one of them, you'll get a little taste of Britain while I'm doing it. And this is the very time of evening that they're going around our area. And that said, let's dive straight in. And the first thing that came flying up on the screen, I've got it all written down here, people, was Halo Infinite. Interestingly, not called Halo 6. And I mean, I think everybody was expecting something from the Halo side of things. And to be fair, looking at that Halo clip, there's one of two things is going on. One is it's not that far into development, which I'd be very surprised about because it's been a fairly long time since the other one came out. At least a couple of years, I think, since the other one came out. But I remember when they launched the Xbox One, they gave a Halo clip, and it was literally just a cinematic of Master Chief appearing in the desert. And this was a very similar thing. I mean, it was literally like all these sort of panoramic views of the desert, these weird shapes, sort of on the sand, and stone structures and things. And then you saw some troops coming through. Again, I'm going to try and have all of this footage up where I can behind me while I'm talking. And then at the end of it, it pans back, and you just see the sort of hand of Master Chief holding the helmet, and that was it really. That's all you got to see of it, and then it came up with Halo Infinite and what have you. So that got the hype going, because you can never have, if every time you announce Halo you're going to get a big reaction from the audience. And they're quite clearly going to be still relying on Halo and Gears to bring in, you know, those big cheers, and they are still, even after this conference, and I think this is a good conference. I think it was a great conference for Microsoft. Even after seeing this conference, they are still going to be the two studios that are going to be bringing, certainly for the next couple of years, I think, still the big AAA titles that people want to see from Microsoft. After the next couple of years, I think some of the other stuff that we'll talk about from this conference will start showing some fruition. And yeah, so that was it. So they kicked off with Halo. It was a massive cheer. Everyone was dead happy with it. But that was it. You didn't see any gameplay. You didn't see anything else. That was the trailer. I love showing it behind me if I could have found it. Then it moved on from that, and they went into, Phil Spencer comes in and out of all of this, and they had some guest speakers up and so on. But Phil Spencer pretty much did the lot of it. After that, we got Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which is the follow-up to Ori and the Something Forest, wasn't it? And I've not played it. I've not played the first one. This, by all accounts, from what I've seen people talking about, it's exactly the same concept as the first one, But I mean, people were quite taken back with just how good it looked. So I think there was a big visual jump from the last one to this one, from what people have been saying. It got a big reaction from the crowd. I think it's a beloved game, and I'm pretty sure that's a Microsoft only one, is it? I have a feeling it might be. I didn't jot down on... Yeah, it is, because I was going to say I didn't jot down the exclusives, but I have. I put Ori and the Will of the Wisps exclusive. Yeah, so it is an exclusive to them, and so that'll be popular with the people that love the first one. Again, I think it was a fairly well received game. I think it won awards and what have you. So the first one. So cheers, everybody. I'm on a holiday at the moment, even though it's a school night. I can enjoy one of these. So I'm going to have a little sip. That's highly professional of me, isn't it? Eh? We're a relaxed atmosphere here. We're not IGN and GameSpot people, you know what I mean? Let's relax while we do these things, eh? So we moved on from Ori, and they jumped straight then into this is not an exclusive, but it was a world premiere of footage from... Now, you may remember that some time ago there was all sorts of whispers that Bloodborne 2 was coming, because there was From Software released this clip. And it showed very little outside of this really bloody sort of what looked like a weapon sort of panning out. It was lucky if it's 30 seconds, that clip. Couldn't make hide and hair of it. People with, well, it's Bloodborne 2, it's Bloodborne 2, it has to be Bloodborne 2. It wasn't. It is a game called Sekiro, and the slogan that went with it was Shadows Die Twice, which was what was displayed on that clip when we got it the 30-second clip. Again... this should be up behind me. And now this game looked amazing. I mean, just somebody said, I was watching, I think it was a guy from GameSpot, I was watching them. I watched the GameSpot ones when I watched the Microsoft conference through GameSpot, and then listened to what they were chatting about afterwards. And the guy was like, it looks like they'd seen Nero and said, oh, we can do it better than that. Neo, sorry, not Nero. Neo. Now Neo got really well received. I mean, that was a great game, but that's exactly what it didn't feel like Neo. It was a samurai type thing going on, and there was all sorts of fighting in there that was just way beyond what... Yeah, I would say way beyond Bloodborne and Dark Souls, to be fair to it. I mean, you had all sorts of lasso things, dragging yourself in, pulling enemies towards you. There was all sorts of crazy stuff going on with the battle. It looked fantastic. there was sort of sheltering yourself with the hat and all sorts of stuff going on as well. It visually looked stunning. There was a scene I couldn't quite... Because initially I thought, oh, this is just a samurai sort of ninja type thing. But it's more than that, because... There was a scene where it pans back. There's two guys chatting at a fire, I think, or something. And again, I haven't watched these clips again. This is what's stuck in my head from watching it yesterday, just once. And the guy he's speaking to seems to have like wolf's legs or something, like animal legs, and he's got like human body and head. So I don't know what that was about. I think there's more to it than just samurais and fighting, clearly. And the boss fights looked... You know, you could tell it was a From Software boss fight, and I was really impressed with that. Totally stoked with it. Again, it's not an exclusive, so we may well see it in the Sony conference later, very early tomorrow morning, or today if you're in America, and in other parts of the world. So this is going to start getting punted all over the shop. I didn't write down a date for it, so I suspect it's not been announced yet. Could be it gets announced at the PlayStation. Well, I'd be surprised if they give off a date at the PlayStation side of it. And it'll also be interesting to see if there is a Bloodborne 2 coming exclusively to PlayStation, as well as this, which is coming to both consoles. But everybody was really surprised that they showed this off at the Microsoft conference. I mean, it has been... Phil Spencer made one, I think it was pretty early on when he was talking about stuff. They have spent, Microsoft, a lot of time going around all of the developer studios, and he specifically pointed out Japan and Poland and all sorts of places. So they have been going and speaking to these devs in these countries, which is, I think, the wisest thing they could have done. And they're obviously, you know, these people are starting to feel comfortable with the power of the Xbox One X and everything coming along. They're starting to feel comfortable to share the stage with Sony now, with Microsoft now. So, you know, I think we'll see more of this as time goes on. So that was fantastic. I was totally stoked with that trailer. And I'm hoping that I've spoken long enough there for you to see the whole thing, because it really was impressive. I was really impressed with that. they went from that, and they went into Games Pass. The guy from Bethesda came on and announced that Fallout 4 was now on the Xbox Game Pass. So if you're paying for Xbox Game Pass, you can now get Fallout 4 on it. And then he went into, here's the premiere of Fallout 76. Now, he did say that Fallout 76 is a prequel to all Fallout games. You are literally the first person to step out of a vault. Any vault. To this point. I mean, whether they go further back. But from what he was saying, this is like 76. This is the first person to set foot on, you know. I mean, that actually is quite a cool idea. I really like that. What we don't know yet is whether or not it is just another Fallout or whether there's more to it, because there was lots of rumour about the fact that it was going to be online content in it. Does that mean other people can share the world with you? Can they come and see your world or what? We don't know yet. But it was basically the launch trailer for it that he was showing off. You saw lots of walking around. There wasn't, I don't recall seeing any shooting and fighting as such, but I could be wrong. Again, it'll be up behind me. But it was a lot of walking around, different characters with different guns walking around and showing off the landscape. Now, they did say that this is the biggest Fallout game they've ever made, and it's 4 times bigger than Fallout 4. That is a pretty massive map. I mean, Fallout 4... With most Bethesda games, I think people were the same as Skyrim. They said, oh, well, when you look at it, it's not as big as you think it is. But, you know, you've still played 100-odd hours. So if you're going to times the map by 4, does that mean you've also times the content by 4? Because if that's the case, then you're looking at a stupid amount of hours in there now, which isn't a bad thing. You know, you could be playing it for a year. So... And these are the sorts of games that you can drift out and in from without much of a worry, which is great. So I'm going to be really interested to see more of that. Prequel we've mentioned, 4 times the size mentioned. Oh, it's based in West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Take me home, country roads. In fact, that was the music that was playing on it. I think bit of John Denver. No, that wasn't John Denver singing it, but somebody was singing it. And you can pre-order it on June 15th, but they didn't actually say when it was out. So that suggests to me, if you go and buy a Fallout 4 launch time, I think that was October or November, wasn't it? They literally announced at E3 and said it's out in whenever. Now, I'm saying all of this before I haven't watched the Bethesda conference yet. This is Monday, about 10 to 6 at the moment, at night. And the Bethesda conference was on at 2 a.m. this morning. And I've been out all day doing bits and bobs. So I have literally come back. First thing I wanted to do was record this, get all the video together, render it, get it up for you. Then I'll watch the Bethesda one. May do it as a separate thing, or I might tie it in with the PlayStation one when I do that. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. So you guys may know by now that, and I'm saying all of this, you guys might know what the launch date is. But certainly you can pre-order it from June 15th. But I suspect, if they haven't announced it already, that it may well be an October-November launch for Fallout 76. It's an interesting one because it was obviously much easier for them this time around to push out another Fallout game this swiftly, yet normally what you would get is you would get a Fallout, a Fallout and Elder Scrolls, a Fallout and Elder Scrolls kind of thing. All right, we get a New Vegas and we get a, whatever as well. So are we treating this like a New Vegas? But I got the impression that this was a proper Bethesda Fallout game, not, Fallout Vegas was made by another studio, wasn't it? With the help of Bethesda or whatever. It wasn't made by the same team that made it. So I don't know the ins and outs of that. It may well have been another team, but from the way he spoke about it, it was like, this is another proper Fallout game. So anyway, I'll be interested to see when I watch the Bethesda thing later. As I say, you guys might know the answer to that before, watching this, before I've seen it. Or I'll be watching it while you're watching this. So there you are. So that was really awesome. It was great to see that. Then we had from the makers of Life is Strange, or it's from, it's in the Life is Strange universe, something called Captain Spirit. It was lots of footage of a young boy. Seemed to be that the mother had died at some point, because there was a mention in the clip about, I wish I could see mum's face again, or something like that. And the father's like, yeah, me too. So they're obviously that concept of it. But it seems to be this boy's imagination of being this superhero, which we can assume is called Captain Spirit. And I think obviously it's this boy's journey dealing with the mother's passing away or whatever's happened. But we didn't really get much more than that. The bit that confused me about that clip was it kept saying it would be free June 26th. Yeah, I put a question mark by it because it kept saying available June 26th free. I thought, well, why would you be giving away a game free? It doesn't make any sense. But I do recall with some of these episodic games, they give you the first episode free and then they get you to buy like the next 3 parts or the season pass or whatever. And it's not a bad idea because with a game you're unsure of, Life is Strange is one of them. I haven't played Life is Strange, but I have played The Walking Dead, Telltale games, and the one about the Fables, Wolf Among Us, which actually Wolf Among Us is my favourite. I actually love that game probably more than I love the Telltale's first Walking Dead game, because I just loved that whole universe. It was just, everything to me was like, wow, that's a great concept, great idea. The story kind of shocked you and wowed you. I've also played the Borderlands Telltale one as well, Tales from the Borderlands, and that was hilarious. I mean, I just laughed till I cried in that game. It was so funny. But out of all of them, I think as an entire play, I certainly, The Wolf Among Us was probably the one that I would put above all of them. I'd probably stand alone in that very thing. There is another one of those coming, I think, but it's not been announced yet. So it was nice to see another game like that. There's plenty of room for them, I think. My problem with those games is there's not a lot of replayability in them. So, you know, you play it for the story and that's it, done. I wouldn't sit and play them again. Then after that, we got Crackdown 3, which has been put back again, but we knew that already before the conference, to February 19, 2019, not February 19th, 2019. Didn't give an exact date, just February. But I don't know. Like that game was punted when they launched the Xbox One, and that was like 4 years ago, I think, 4.5 years ago. So, I mean, why is it? I don't understand why it's taking so long. I think I heard them talking about the fact that they were putting a story in it, maybe. And it was a similar thing that they've tried to do with We Happy Few, which we'll talk about later. But I think it was like, it wasn't the fact. I think they've had issues with the game because there was people that got hands on with it a year or so ago, maybe longer, and they said that there was all sorts of sort of issues and things they didn't like. It wasn't, you know, this, that, and the next thing. So I think they took that feedback and said, right, we're going to have to do more with it. I know they can't really afford for that game not to be a hit to some level. You know, it's probably not going to be good enough for it to be a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It needs to be a bit more than that, but I doubt it will be. But I don't know. I watched the trailer and I was like, I'm not a big Crackdown person anyway. I think I played Crackdown on the Xbox 360 at some point. I don't think it ever rocked my world or anything, so I think it's for a specific set of fans, that one. Nier Automata was then announced as Xbox X Enhanced. It was a very short showing. Metro Exodus was the next big one that came out. And there was a massive clip of that. It kind of showed you lots of pockets of the world. It was a really great trailer, actually. I kind of when I was watching it, because you do notice in this trailer, if you have not played, I've said this before, right? If you haven't played the other 2 Metro games, go and get them. They're so cheap, and just go and play them. Yes, they're shooters, and maybe shooters aren't your thing, but there's a terrific story in them. The enemies are awesomely frightening and really well done. They were totally remastered and done for this new gen of consoles, those games, 1 and 2. 2 obviously stands up much stronger graphically, but they both look great. And the whole concept is that all humans are living underground because up on the surface, between the air being half unbreathable and all the monsters that are out there, you just don't venture up there unless you have to. So a lot of the game you're set underground in this sort of underground rail network and stuff. Metro, hence the name. But what you notice from this trailer and the trailer that came before it, I'm not actually sure if you see any underground. Like, there's loads of different bits you're seeing on the surface. And I only saw one tiny little clip where you saw the guy take the gas mask off, because I initially thought, why are they not wearing gas masks anymore? They're walking around the surface without gas masks on. And then you see him take one off. So, because it was just it was another cool entity to the game, the gas mask, because you have to find filters for it when the filters get clogged and all this sort of stuff. So it adds to the world's depth rather than being an annoyance, stuff like that. So I think the concept of this game is that you're traveling across Russia on the train on the surface, so it's taking you to all of these locations. And without any doubt, when you hit some of these locations, I suspect you'll end up in the metro of that area or underground. So there will be an underground element to the game, but it has been surprising just how much of it is on the surface at this point. It looks spectacular. I've always loved that environment, that story, the fact it's in Russia. It can become, I love you Americans, I do, don't start hating me, but it become very generic when every game you get is an American actor playing the same sort of protagonist, you know, like even with women, like it's always an American accent, nearly always, like, and it's such a treat to get something, especially in RPGs. I know we're not talking about an RPG, but if you're talking about an RPG in Europe or, you know, anywhere, for me, if you stick British or foreign accents into, Dragon Age did it, they have French accents, Spanish accents, it just gives it a depth, like a realism. Like, the American accent's a very modern accent, you know what I mean? That it's not that I don't like the American accent, it's just a very modern one. Like, if I watch an American movie, fine, if I'm set in New York, if I'm set blah or whatever, but the minute I start going really historic or somewhere into Europe, I want European accents. And much as though I love the guy that did Geralt, I think his voice is brilliant and he's unmistakable as Geralt, but I would still to this day mega surprised that that game has Geralt as an American voice, because CD Projekt Red is what, Polish? Russian? Polish. I think it's Polish. And I just surprises me beyond belief that they didn't go with something European for Geralt. But I think it was like a safe... I think when you're launching a game, the market in America is so massive that I think there's a worry that if you don't make it an American accent, that they won't connect somehow with the character. And I don't know. I mean, it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Witcher games, but and Geralt, I wouldn't want him any other way now, because he is what he is, and it will always be that voice. But it does surprise me that it was never a different type of voice from the beginning, because of the nature of the people that made it. So, and with Metro, they probably had the same thought, like, can we give people Russian accents? Are people going to buy this game? And yeah, they did. Really, really popular. If it's set in Russia, everyone's got Russian accents, you know what I mean? Unless there's some particular reason that there's an American there or something. So, anyway, I'm digressing way off track here, people. Love the world. Love the acting, love the other two, so I can't wait for that one. I think it's going to be a right blast. Did we get a date for it? Yes, we did. February 22nd, 2019. I'm going to tell you now, and I'll tell you no more, people. February is becoming stupid. Like, every person on the planet is releasing a game in February. Nobody wants to release anything near Red Dead Redemption, which I can't understand, because Red Dead Redemption, alright, it's going to sell a lot of copies, without any shadow of a doubt. It's going to be a massive hit, massive game, but all of these people avoiding it are totally different types of games. On top of which, there's another 6 months of the year you could launch your game in. Like, sorry, well, another 11 months of the year. I mean, what's wrong with January? What's wrong with March? What's wrong with April, June, July? Why is it feckin' February or November and October? What? I mean, I don't understand it. Like, or September, is it? September. It's like I don't get it. Spider-Man's about one of the few that's doing September, isn't it? Spider-Man, Tomb Raider, Red Dead Redemption, I think they're Septembers. And then everything else has got to feck that. We're not going up against them. February. I mean, I don't get it. Like, why didn't any of them pick January or March or April? It's just odd. I find it really odd. I don't understand that at all. So there you are. Crackdown, we've done. Kingdom Hearts was then shown off. Kingdom Hearts 3. Loads of people were getting pretty hyped about this game. A lot of people are really frustrated with it because it's been put back so many times. It's been about 10 years or something since the last Kingdom Hearts game. So 29th of January is the release date. And I don't know. I've always been a massive Final Fantasy fan. And I think my son loves Kingdom Hearts because he's a massive Final Fantasy fan. Well, JRPG fan. He's massive on them because of the time we spent when he was little playing the Final Fantasies and stuff, and he just fell in love with them. And he still loves all of them to this day. I've never had the urge with Kingdom Hearts. I find it a novelty JRPG rather than something that's going to sort of soak me into a story that makes any sense. And it just kind of... I mean, I know everyone loves the fact what they've done with this and the Disney characters are in it. But you ask them and they go, what was it about? And they go, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. Like, but look at all the Disney characters. It's fun. And it was kind of the same watching the clip because there was... the Frozen characters pitched up and the girl from Tangle pitched up and all sorts of these newer Disney characters. And there's a lot of suggestion that the reason it was pushed back was because they wanted to bring Frozen in because it's now the biggest hit Disney have ever had. And obviously there's Tangled and all sorts of Disney characters they're bringing in from the newer cartoons. And I just find it like this game where they just have to throw Disney characters into it because we have to have all the Disney characters into it. And that's its purpose. Like, it doesn't have any other purpose other than that. You're fighting stuff, you're leveling up, I assume. I've never played it, so I don't know. I assume it's like a JRPG. But it's basically got all the Disney characters in it, and that's its concept. So I've never quite got it. I've never quite got the whole thing, the whole to-do with Kingdom Hearts 3. But I'm obviously... Maybe I need to play it to get it. Because I'm obviously missing something. Because everybody I know that loves JRPGs says that Kingdom Hearts is great fun. So, but there you go. Yeah, so that came clambering onto the stage. Another one that was a surprise for people to be on the Xbox stage. Because I think a lot of people expected to see that pushed on the Sony stage. And I can't remember if I just said. But yeah, 29th of January, that one's coming out. So there are, okay. I've just said, like, why is nobody picking January? And they are. Sea of Thieves was then pushed. They're already launching 2 DLCs for that. I didn't see whether or not these were free, but I suspect these are going to be purchasable items. And they're called The Cursed Sails and... Forsaken Shores, I think that says. I couldn't read my own handwriting. Cursed Sails and Forsaken Shores DLC packs. What's in them? I mean, it was a great clip. It's been a massive hit for them in the world of their world anyway of their own first party product. But a lot of people said they really loved it, and then just found there wasn't enough to bring them back to do. And I think that's probably the case with most of these MMO type games that are being built. Though they just have to start the bonus that companies have got now is they go, right, okay, fine, we've not got enough in it. We can just give them a DLC as quickly as we can, and the game can keep growing. And I think that's kind of a get out of jail free for these sort of games. So that was pushed pretty heavily. It looks good fun, to be fair. I had a friend who was trying to get me to play it, but I just didn't want to pay out the money for it. But again, if you wanted to try it, I think at the moment you can get the Game Pass for £1 and the Xbox Gold for £1, and I think it lasts for a month, and then after that it will start renewing itself. So you could just get it for a month and try it, get the Games Pass and try it out for nothing. Same with State of Decay 2, you could just try it for £1. As long as when you've signed up, you just go onto the website and stop the automatic renewal. It's only cost you £1. I might well do that myself. I haven't tried it yet. Then they moved on to Battlefield 5. There was a massive trailer for that. I did talk about Battlefield 5 in the EA vlog, so if you want to see some of the Battlefield 5 footage, then there's plenty of it kicking around. I probably won't show it again here. I think it was the same trailer, if I remember rightly. So they were pushing Battlefield 5. There's so much, people. I've only just got through the first page. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this sort of stuff. I mean, we're up to half an hour already. I mean, the whole show was like 2 hours long. I don't want to be as long as that. Forza Horizon 4, which is an exclusive, and it's set in Britain this time. Pretty sure I saw Edinburgh in there, and then there was all sorts of hills and countryside. It was actually more off-road than it was on-road, and the way they've built it this time is it's almost an MMO racing game. So you can literally, like, every other car in the game is another person. And you can drive up to them and start talking to them in-game. You can drive up to them and actually connect with them and start a race in-game. You don't have to do anything outside of it. It was actually really impressive. Visually looked stunning. The driving looked fun. All the off-road stuff was really, really fun. And I'm pretty sure this is what they tried to do with the Crew. Was it the Crew or something like that, wasn't it? That was all the MMO driving game. So they've gone down that route. I don't know if... I don't play racing games, so I don't know if the other Forza Horizons were like that. I don't think they were. This seemed to be quite a new thing they were implementing. So it was really online heavy, but I think for a racing game that's not a bad thing, because you want proper competition in a racing game. It can get pretty tedious playing the computer all the time, and I think if you want a massive amount of variety, you can, if you can hook up with loads of different racing drivers and that are actual people and do loads of random racing games, race types. I'm not sure what different types there are, but so yeah, I mean, it just showed off so much. I mean, I won't show the whole clip here because I'll be talking about it for... I mean, they talked about it for a very long time, but it did look really, really good. I have to say, they were really pushing the weather changes and stuff, how much it changed the environment. At one point, you were racing around a lake, but when the winter hit, you could go over it on the ice and everything. So they've really gone to town on it. But Forza Horizon has been their big, solid, big hit every time they've brought one out as an exclusive on the Xbox One. So I think with that, and the 360 for that matter, I think there was someone there, wasn't there? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hit for them every time. That I think they've done well with that again. And they then went on to... Yeah, I'm just rattling through. Well, that was Playground Games. That's who makes Forza Horizon. All Cars in Game, or other players, Shared World, World Event. Oh yeah, there was world events happening in it, like in an MMO. You're like an MMO fighting game where everyone can join in. There's like a world event races and stuff happening. You can just drive to them and join in. Set in Britain, we've mentioned, and it is out on October 2nd, 2018. So it's not too far away, to be fair. That's a pretty big title to be punting for this year. And it is also on the Xbox One Game Pass, or the Xbox Game Pass. Phil Spencer talked about, he went into this whole, like, we know we need first party, and we've been working on it, and this is what we've done. And he basically rattled into the fact that they have opened a brand new studio with AAA developers in it, and it's called The Initiative. It's based in Santa Monica, and that is without doubt going to be a studio that's going to be bringing AAA titles to just the Microsoft platform. How long that's been set up, he didn't say, I don't think. But that was a big whoop from the crowd on that front. To go along with that, they have purchased Undead Labs, who make the State of Decay games. So they're going to get a lot more... Because State of Decay was pushed as an exclusive anyway, but it was still an indie game. Like, that world could be so much better with the right money behind it. So that's a brilliant buy for them. So you can imagine State of Decay 3 is going to be like a AAA title rather than an indie title. So they've bought that company. They then said that they had bought Playground Games, who make the Forza Horizon games, which they just announced beforehand. So they've nailed that one down to themselves. They are also massively... In fact, Phil Spencer mentioned that they are working on a big... I think he said RPG, but he did say a big open world game as well. So without any doubt, that is Fable 4. And then he went on to say that they'd also purchased Ninja Theory, which is that is a massive purchase for my liking. Ninja Theory, they just made Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade, and they've had other great titles. They did Devil May Cry way back in the day, but they kind of became a smaller studio again. And Senua's Sacrifice was actually made on a much smaller budget than they had spent in previous times. So Ninja Theory, for me, could well become one of their big AAA developers because there's so much talent in that studio. And they have also purchased Compulsion Games, who are about to launch We Happy Few. We Happy Few's been on the preview program for ages, and there's massive, well, I don't know if it's fact or rumour, but there was rumour anyway. The reason that We Happy Few's taken so long to get from that preview mode into full launch is because, I don't know whether it's because they bought them out or whether it was done anyway, but they have now, they're building in a story, I believe, a sort of single player campaign into We Happy Few rather than it just being a survival game. So I played it and it was quite good fun. There was very annoying bits about it because you kept having to feed yourself and stuff. That may all have been fixed now. Because I've already bought the preview, I've got that game. When it's ready, I can just download it. So I think that's a great purchase for them as well, because that's a great vibe to that game. It's a dark sort of Bioshock-esque world. So yeah, I think massive hat off to Microsoft for getting those studios purchased and building another studio, the Initiative, to go alongside the Coalition, who are doing the Gears games, and 343, who are doing the Halo games. That's not a bad setup of studios that they've got now. Obviously, it's going to take some time for these studios to get some exclusive stuff done for them. You can see, though, that they are building for the future, Microsoft, now. You know, they've got the hardware sorted out. They've got the enhancements all sorted out. They've got the backward compatibility all sorted out. And now it's time to sort the software out. And Phil Spencer's doing exactly what he said when he came in, and he's done it in the order he said he was going to do it. So that was a massive whoop to all of that. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great job he's done there. And pre-order We Happy Few today. Yes, you can pre-order it, and it is launched properly on August 10th, 2018. So it's not too far away for We Happy Few if you have any interest in that game whatsoever. I may well, because I've already bought it, maybe I will re-look at that and do a little bit of it on the channel for you to see what this single-player campaign might be and how it might have changed since the last time I did a bit of that from the beginning again. And they showed a bit of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds off, but they were just showing off a new summer and winter mode, I think, map-wise. And then went on to Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, which was a short thing again, just sort of flew up. So if you're into Tales of Vesperia, there's a definitive edition of that coming. Not exclusive, just on console. The Division 2 was the next big one that kind of appeared on screen, and for my liking, the Division felt empty to me after a little while of running around, and it got really repetitive. Because I'm not one for PvP, I never went into the Dark Zone or whatever it was called, and it really annoys me with games when the best possible kit you can get that is forcing you into PvP, because it's like, if I don't like PvP, I'm never going to get the best kit. Why? You know what I mean? Like, there's already enough people out there that want to shoot each other. They'll go into the Dark Zone anyway. So why not give you the option of either getting it through a really tough mission to do co-op with your mates, or going into the Dark Zone and doing it yourself? Like, I don't understand, like, why I've got to suffer the consequences of not enjoying PvP. Therefore, I'm never going to get the best stuff in the game. It just really infuriates me, that sort of stuff. But it was a good mechanic. It was visually good. It looked fantastic in places, but like a lot of Ubisoft stuff, it kind of looked fantastic but looked awful in play. It was like a balance of, like, this looks spectacular, but this sort of chair and book looked like they were off of an Xbox, you know, original Xbox even. But this time it is set in Washington, and it is set in the summer. Well, it seems to be summertime or spring, and so the whole snowy atmosphere and all that's out the window now, so it's sort of a different environment. They kind of cheekily showed it off with you walking through It looked like he was walking through a jungle, but I think it was like a botanical garden in Washington. But I have to say though that the battle that I mean, again, it's the same stuff again. Like if you're gonna give me a big world and a big city, you got to make it interesting, right? It is not fun to be running the same streets over and over again because I've had to go there to do a mission. I've got to run back to do something at base. I've got to go there to do a mission. I mean, if you're gonna make me do that, give me a motorbike or something. Like make it fun. Like I don't want to be like jogging along streets like. I just like because the streets are all kind of covered in stuff, aren't they, in these games? So you got to be thinking, well, if that's the case, cars are no good. But you got to think like a motorbike, something that's versatile, would be fine. Quad bike or something that can get over things, or just something that makes it quicker to get around the place, so that you're not finding it tedious. But again, the missions got slightly repetitive and stuff as well. To be fair to the game, I haven't tried it in a long time, and there's been a lot of work done on the game, so I might be being a bit harsh on it. It might have been fixed in a lot of places so far as interest goes, but I have to say the battle that they showed looked absolutely fantastic. You know, it was the usual showing off a group of people playing together, chatting to each other while they're walking through, big gunfight, boss guy with a weak point at the back, shoot the weak point to the point where it falls off. I mean, it's kind of the same concept every time, isn't it? You know, take the scatter ones out, big boss comes along, he's got a weak spot somewhere, sort that out. But they had some really cool weapon things going on. There was like a missile thing went underground and blew up underneath somebody, and they were showing them picking each other up. And I don't think that's new, but it was very cool, very slick. It's always fun to watch these battles. It's fun to play them for a while like that. But I think the other thing that bugged me about the game was like the lack of versatility in the kit. You know, like everything I put on seemed to be not that great, or the minute I got something else it just became redundant anyway because it was better stats on something else. There wasn't enough versatility in the clothing when I played it, so there was little things like that. They might have sorted that out though in this new one, but again, it looks stunning, looked great. I'm sure it's going to be loved by the people that love the Division, but I hope they've made it slightly more interesting than the first one. And yeah, March 15th 2019. Now that I've said this about February, like every time I mention a game, it seems to be January, March. But February is ridiculous, trust me. There's a lot of stuff in February. And they then rambled on well, not rambled on, it's a bit harsh. It was a lovely lady that came on and talked about Game Pass. They were talking about Game Pass getting more and more exclusive. They're working with developers to get their games included in Game Pass, so that when you buy Game Pass, obviously you're paying whatever it is, I don't know how much it is, as example, £10 a month or whatever it might be, and you can just play any game that's on Game Pass. And that way you don't have to fork out for, 40 week games when they come out. But at the moment, like Fallout 4's only just hit it. So clearly a lot of third parties don't want to do that at launch because it's going to seriously affect their sales. And what cut of that they get from Game Pass, got no idea. Or what money Microsoft gives them in order to put it on Game Pass, no idea. It could be a similar type of deal when they ask them to put it on Gold, PS Plus membership stuff, or Gold, Microsoft Gold membership stuff, when you get the free games in the month. I don't know what they give the companies for doing that. But there was another thing that she talked about, fast start on games based on the games you play and how you play them. I've no idea how that works. At the moment, you start installing a game. At some point, it'll say, right, you can start it now. This is a different way of them doing it based on the game or the way you play. They didn't give many details on it, but they said it would make life easier for downloading and stuff to get you started in the game quicker. So twice as fast, I think she said. But frankly, twice as fast is still quite slow. even with a game you put into an Xbox, it's the one gripe I probably still have left with the Xbox is, why does it take so long to install a game? And they have to be installing them in a different way that the PlayStation do, because the PlayStation games, even the ones that take a while, at most are only taking 10 minutes maybe. But with you put a game in the Xbox, even without updating it takes it a good part of half an hour at least to install the game, and then you might have a 20 gig update to come with it. So it's still very, very slow. And that kind of makes you reluctant to uninstall anything in case you want to play it again. It's even worse if you want to download it. I mean, this is why I buy physical games, because at least I can get the majority off the disc. So if I do uninstall it, it's not that horrendous, you know, to reinstall it. So there you are. So there was a bit of that going on with Games Pass. Then Shadow of the Tomb Raider appeared. That is, I'm not gonna. Actually, there was a fairly big trailer. It was certainly new stuff that I hadn't seen before, and I'm really stoked about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It doesn't look like it's certainly not an exclusive this time, like the last one was for any length of time. It seemed to just be that it was launching on September 14th. We already knew that anyway. 2018 this year. And yeah, I mean, I kind of still love the first game, I think, a bit more than the second. I think the second one opened up maybe a little bit too much, and I don't like the whole Trinity story. Like, I like the fact that I would prefer Lara just to have a different story every game. I don't need an arc for Tomb Raider games. Just give me a different story every game. Just give her a different baddie that's trying to get the treasure. If you really want to give her a baddie, just give her a different baddie that's trying to get the treasure before she is this time. Because for me, you could have a different baddie from a different part of the world. You don't have to have like this almighty bad thing. Like, it doesn't have to be global, like, to have a decent bad guy. It doesn't have to be like that. But for some reason, when they make these games, I mean, yeah, I mean, Uncharted didn't have it. I mean, they hinted at the fact that there was in the third one, didn't they? They said that everything that had been going on had this. We didn't know it in 1 and 2, but they kind of threw in this sort of, oh, this was a big bad. These people have been obviously kicking around since he was a kid, trying to get this item. But the stories weren't linked by it. It was just something they kind of threw in for 3 and made it this journey that they'd been on to waiting to find this piece that they were missing. But individually, we got a different bad guy in a different place or different places in the Uncharted games. It was never this sort of arc of a. I don't get it. It's the only part that's annoying me, I think, about Tomb Raider. I just didn't think it needed the whole Trinity thing. But it doesn't mean that I won't play it. I will, and I'll still love it. It's just a story annoyance for me. I would rather it was a different baddie every time, or a different challenge every time. Whatever you want to do, it or say it. Not overly sure. There was bad guys in the really sort of old ones now. Legends and Underworld and all that had bad guys in them, but I don't think they were working for sort of big companies. But I don't think they were Trinity or anything like that. But anyway, it looked fantastic. Battle looked great. Looked like they brought the what are they called? The grapples that you can run up and down the walls with into it. I don't think they had that in the second one. Certainly didn't have it in the first one because it was all about the climbing, wasn't it? Don't think they had it in the second one. So that seemed to be a new thing. So they have brought a bit more diversity again into her gameplay, which is quite cool. And they've brought the big guy back that's always with her. It was another thing that actually I think's lost a little bit. In the first one, she had kind of a group of people around her. And even in the older ones, she had the butler and the other guy, a sort of core unit of people that help her. In these, like, they seem to have dumped everybody from the first one apart from that guy. And I'm pretty sure the Japanese girl, wasn't it? Japanese girl. And the black girl who had the kid with Roth, or whatever his name was. And, sorry, spoiler alert, in case you're watching it. So there's about 3 of them that got off the island with her, I'm sure. So, I don't know, it just seemed odd that they just went, now we're just taking that one character and he'll be the one that stuck with her. So, I don't know. And again, this could be the end of a trilogy so far as the next time they do a Tomb Raider game, she'll be the Lara Croft that we kind of know from the older games, where she is just uber and wearing the short shorts with the holsters and the guns, because we still haven't got double guns yet. But there was, somebody said in one of the trailers, there was a shot of her in shorts with holsters. So it could be that fruition comes at some point in this game, and then you can have a whole new trilogy that comes after it with a different, more experienced Lara that kind of knows more of what she's doing. Which will be very cool. Very cool. So yeah, I'm totally stoked for that. Always have been. Always will be, people. There's always room for Lara Croft. And I think that and Spider-Man, isn't it? The 2 in September. The 2 big ones. And Red Dead. What do we have after that, people? There was a skating game came on called Session. Not going to talk much about that. If you like skating games, there's a new skating game coming. Might appease those that were waiting for Skate 4 that never came in the EA conference. There was also there was there was a game appeared, and just for a brief moment I thought, is this bloody Dragon Age? Because it looked like some of the battles was like, that looks very Dragon Agey to me. But it was an RPG called Black Desert, and the clip was very, very cool. The fighting was brilliant, and had this whole sort of medieval type thing going on, you know, armors and dragons, and I mean, there was even a scene of a dragon, you know, breathing fire and stuff. I just don't think MMORPGs are for me. I don't think MMOs are for me, for that matter, of any kind. And I just, again, and this is where I'm hoping, as I said in the EA thing, my EA vlog, that I'm hoping this is where Anthem gets it right, because Anthem is promising to be part MMO but part single player, so you get in a world that you're interested in. But the MMOs, you just end up running around. I've got to kill the shit out of that to get more points to upgrade that. Then I've got to go over there and kill the shit out. I've got no idea what's going on. I had no idea what was going on with the Final Fantasy 1 online. I have no idea what I was doing in the Elder Scrolls 1 online. I just was running around just smacking the shit out of things. I didn't care about the world. I didn't care about my character. I have no idea what the story was about. I forgot it about 2 minutes after I played it. I just don't get it. Like, I think Destiny, I guess, is an MMO. Okay, I enjoyed the Taken King story, so at least they put a story in, but that was fairly memorable there. But again, they struggled to put a decent story in outside of Taken King for me. But I don't get it. Yeah, the whole MMO thing. They really need to find something that makes you care and something that is regularly interesting, because otherwise I just wander off. And that I've talked about this a lot before, but this looked gorgeous. The fighting looked really good fun. But again, I can't get excited about it, because I'll probably just I'll play it for an hour and be like, I'm bored now. So yeah, but it looked fantastic though. I was quite surprised to see it. I was just disappointed when he said MMORPG at the end, so never mind, eh? Devil May Cry 5 is coming in spring 2019. There was no date on that MMORPG that I remember anyway. I didn't jot one down. Devil May Cry was finally announced proper. The guy who made the guy who designs it came on. Didn't speak much English. He was quite funny actually. It was him and another guy. Came on and they talked about it for a little bit and how excited they were that there was finally a 5th installment, because there'd been so much call for a proper follow-up to the last one, and they're totally stoked for that. Looked fantastic, looked good fun. I played the last one and I actually really liked it. Yeah, I'm not a Devil May Cry player really, but I did really like that last one, and I keep meaning to get the definitive edition of it. It's to the remastered edition. Just haven't got around to it, but it's dead cheap now, that last one. But I just remember playing it thinking, God, this is really good fun, and it's a really good story, and really, you know, I just really liked it. Yeah, really, really good. Don't recall playing the sort of older ones that much, really. I think I had a shot on them, but they never really grabbed me. But that, for some reason, that last one did. So I may give it a go at some point. It's not something I'll be getting at launch, though. It's not really grabbing me quite that much, people. Cuphead, the new Cuphead game, was then announced for 2019. Cuphead, the Delicious Last Course, it's called. So if Cuphead was your thing, that's coming along. There was a game called Tunic, which was... This is an interesting one, because... And I wasn't going to spend long talking about this, because it's just a small indie game. And I thought, well, that's a bit unfair, because... You know, there's a lot of love and hard work goes into indie games, from people of a team of 10 or 5 to people who have teams of, you know, 20, 30. But they are games that have a lot of love and attention put into them. And I should really spend more time looking at indie games. And I don't. I just don't ever get the time to do it. But this game was made... I'm going to try and be having some footage up of this behind me, because I think it's worth showing. Because at the end of the trailer, I thought, that's a really cute game, and it looked really fun to be running around and playing. It looked really slick and nice. It looked like it's kid friendly, which is something that we don't see probably enough of these days. And well, at the end of the thing, he said that it was made by a single developer. One person made this game. I mean, that's absolutely awesome. That somebody has spent... I mean, God knows how long it's taken the woman or the guy. But I think that's absolutely amazing that one person can sit and just make this game. And I think there's a lot of room for more of that in the world of gaming. I just hope that there's always going to be a platform for them on console, because I think it's a wonderful place for people to pick them up. I think if it's just PC, then a lot of the world doesn't get to see them. So yeah, I was really sort of touched by the fact that it was just one person that made that game, and it did look. I mean, it's not the sort of thing I would play normally, you know. But I think it was a great game that you could play with your kids, or sit and watch them play, or play together. So yeah, so I thought I would give that a little bit of time and show off the footage of that. Hopefully, I've talked enough about it to at least show enough of it off to let you see. There was then a Bandai Namco new game. Thrown up, massive trailer. I thought it was Dragon Ball Z at first, because all the characters flying, or some of them flying up. I thought that's Dragon Ball Z from back in the day. And I'm pretty sure they are Dragon Ball Z characters that were flying up on the screen. And it comes out in 2019. It's called Jump Force and had the slogan "Unite to Fight" on it. So I assume it's, you know, I don't know whether it's a mashing type fighting game or what have you. It didn't really give enough away to talk about. But I'm sure it'll be a big hit with whoever's into that sort of thing. Dying Light 2 was pushed quite heavily. They showed off... I played Dying Light 1... I never finished it. I didn't play it for long either, I don't think. I think I kept trying to get into it and I just couldn't. And I'm not really massive on those sort of zombie games. Like, I don't... First person running around... I'm not big on melee weapons and keeping on repairing them and keeping them having... I did it with Dead Island to a point, but even that became monotonous. It just loses interest for me after a while, to be running around constantly just doing missions for people, smacking zombies on the head. But I get why it's popular. I get that the zombies were really scary. They were fast. They were at night. They were really hard to deal with. They have opened this game up a bit more. They were showing off a lot of decision making, so you could join a group of people and help them do their thing or not, and the world around you would change based on that. The people that would show up and, you know, try and noise you up and stuff would change. And he said there was hundreds of decisions like that in the game. So I mean, they've obviously put a lot of care and attention into the second one. The first one was a massive hit, so I'm hoping for them it's going to be another big hit. Just for me, it's just a me thing. I'm just not massive on first person melee zombie games. It's just not really something for me. I mean, you know, if, in comparison, if you look at something that's coming along, I know they're not zombies, they're called Screechers or something, but in Days Gone, I mean, I'm totally stoked for that sort of zombie world, or Last of Us or whatever, that post-apocalyptic world. Yes, but not so much the running around with melee weapons. First person, for whatever reason, just doesn't float me boat, people. But anyway, I hope it does well for them. They then showed off something called Battletoads. I won't talk about that. It looked fun. Didn't actually show enough of it to see if it looked fun, actually, to be fair, now I've just said that. Just Cause 4. I'm not a big Just Cause player, but that was announced. It's out in December 2018, so this year. They then hammered into Gears of War, which they're not calling Gears of War now. They just seem to be calling it Gears 5. However, just before they announced Gears 5, they showed off Gears Pop, which was those little pop characters by Funko, is it? They've made like a little cute game like that. I assume it will be a lot like a Lego game, but for Gears. And then they did a Gears Tactic game, which actually looks quite interesting. So it looks along the lines of maybe XCOM or something like that, turn-based type fighting. That looked really cool, and I'd be interested to see how that pans out, because that could be quite an addictive game for them. And it's a branch of something that's first party, and which I think might well take off for them. And then they went heavily into a Gears 5 trailer. Now, Gears 5 has now become really interesting, because I can't believe we're up to an hour of me talking, people. Good grief. I told you it was a long conference. Gears 5, the guy was talking about it and everything. Obviously, there was a big cheer when it came out, and I'm still really stoked for it. Now, before I say this, I'm absolutely delighted that we're going to be playing as the female character. I haven't got a problem with that whatsoever. I love... Anyone who watches my Let's Plays knows if I get given the option to create a character, I always create a female. So I usually go down the female route wherever I can. Don't know why, I just prefer to play it that way. I think it's because I find the male protagonists very generic. And a lot of the time, the voice acting from the ladies is a lot stronger. You know, Fem Shep was one that I played that I preferred. I'm not going to be able to think of another one now. But anyway, you get the idea. In fact, Dragon Age 2, I just started playing on the back compat. I picked a female for that as well. So basically, they started talking about the fact that this is a journey. They were saying it's the best Gears story yet, and we're gonna, but they were talking about this is her journey. So it's the girl from the first one who is the girlfriend of girlfriend sidekick, the other soldier, but she's the girlfriend of Marcus Phoenix's son, who was the main character. To be fair, it was a balance, but you played as him if you were playing the primary character. If you were playing as a secondary character, I'm pretty sure you played as her, if I remember rightly. But I think you could have 3 people, though, now that I'm saying that. But anyway, I digress. So it suddenly all became about playing as her. And when they started the trailer, there was a clip of her running, screaming and crying, going, no, 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 no. And they were covering this body up, saying that he's dead, and blah. But I think it's going to be... Well, I can only assume it's a bit of a red herring because Marcus didn't look bothered. He was just sort of looking down with his usual... not showing any emotion type face. So Marcus was looking at... Now, if that's his son lying there, you'd think there'd be something going on with him. And there wasn't. It was only her that was upset. So I think that clip was a bit of a red herring. And I think that Marcus's son must still be in that game, but we didn't see him at all. Now, I could be completely wrong, but why is Marcus not affected whatsoever when his son's lying in front of him dead? So I don't think that was Marcus's son. I'm forgetting the guy's name now. But so that was really interesting. I've now got I watched several people talk about this reveal, and not one of them asked that question. And I was like, where's no one else? Like, clearly people aren't bothered about that character if that's the case. But why on earth is the guy... And he wasn't in any of the clip, any of the stuff that they showed. You didn't see his face at all. It was all her fighting. And I'm pretty sure that it was the same black guy from the first one. The last one, not the first one. Pairing up with her. So it didn't seem to be that the boyfriend was there teaming up with her. It was all a bit odd, because I was like, well, if you were going to make her the protagonist, why didn't you do it from the beginning? Because her story is actually a big part of the first one, with her grandmother or mother or whatever it was, giving her something. She's got to go on this journey. So I don't understand why they didn't make her the protagonist in the first one. It seems a bit odd. It was almost like they've had this change of heart and thought, we want a female lead, let's get her front and foremost. So it could be that Marcus Phoenix's son is in it, but he's not in it as a side-by-side character all the way through the game. It might be that he comes into it from a different angle. He might be off doing something else. She was... in the trailer, she was in the army, because the guy was trying to give her orders. Now, that could be because he had left, hadn't he? He'd got kicked out or something, the son. So it could be that he's off somewhere else doing something. But I think it was a red herring showing the dead body. I think we were to make this assumption that he was under the cloth, but I don't think it was. A bit like Finn holding the lightsaber. We kind of knew it wasn't going to be him. He was the Jedi, didn't we, at the time? Spoiler! Anyway, massive lot. I'm really looking forward to that. I really enjoyed that Gears 4. So Gears 5 is a big hit for me. Interesting they've lost the Gears of War bit. It's just Gears 5. And no launch date was given that I saw. And interestingly, he did spend some time saying we're already working on the next set of hardware. We're already working on the next set of Xboxes. So he was really open about that. So he was, I think he was making a point there that they're not resting on their laurels with the X. They know that PlayStation are going to be coming out with the PlayStation 5, if not next year, which I think it will be. I think it will be 2019, fall of 2019, autumn of 2019, if you're in Gross Britannia. And I'm often wrong, people, but that's my feeling on it. I don't think Sony are going to want to be as far behind the X as that for that long. So I've got a feeling, because PlayStation have already said that the PS4 is hitting the end of its life cycle anyway. So I've got a feeling that the PS5 might start getting pushed next year for a release next autumn. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that'll have been, 6 years then that they've been out, which is a pretty long time anyway. And that was the turnaround time that they said that these new, they wouldn't wait as long as they did with the old ones, because they waited too long, the 360 and the PS3. So we'll see. So it was a pretty strong statement from him to say, we're already making our new ones. And, we'll, you know, they didn't say we'll talk about it later. He just said we're already on with it. So it's being pretty bold with that. They're not hiding the fact, you know, they're on with it. And within the next couple of years, from both these people, we're going to see new consoles without any doubt. And I think, yeah, well, he was about to finish up at that point, and then he was like, have a great E, and he was just about to finish it, and all the screens went, you know, set up to announce Cyberpunk 2077, which a lot of people have been asking to see more of. This is the one from CD Projekt Red, who made the Witcher games. And they've been going on about this game for quite some time, lightly, not showing it off. I think there was one trailer way back. Now, they showed a lot in this trailer, but it was a lot of stuff that didn't really let you know what this world is or what you'll be doing in it. They just showed this sort of... It was an almost lawless world in the future, and there was like robots putting makeup on, there was people getting beat down, there was a woman stomping another woman's head into the pavement at one point, there was people shooting up a bar, it would just look lawless, but way in the future, you know, in this sort of, I don't know, Blade Runner-esque type world, I suppose, with flying cars and such like. But there was so much going on. You couldn't make from that trailer who you are, what you're going to be doing, what the world actually is. You know, is that just the scummy part of the world, for example? And there's, you know, all the rich folk live somewhere else, or what? You couldn't make any of that out. But it was good to see it. It was good to see it getting punted, because there was a lot of folks reckoning that game won't come on these consoles. It will be coming on the next lot, because CD Projekt Red have made noises about the fact that they don't think these consoles were powerful enough to deal with what they're trying to do with Cyberpunk 2077. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we don't see Cyberpunk 2077 on these consoles, because I think that game is way off being launched. And if you're talking about another couple of years of development on it, then you're already looking at new consoles coming along. And they didn't say... Well, it wasn't gameplay anyway, but pretty sure they didn't say what it was being shown on. So it could have been shown on a dev kit. And, I mean, it didn't blow my mind. You know, like visually, I didn't go, whoa, Jesus Christ. You know, like it was some sort of future console dev kit it was on. Not like when we saw, you know, when Watch Dogs 1 was first launched, you know, shown off at... when the consoles were first coming out, and everyone was like, oh my god, that looks amazing, and then only to discover later that it was the PC Uber version they were showing us. It wasn't like that, you know, but then The Witcher's, although it's a gorgeous game, it's not like pinpoint accurate sort of real world, is it? Because it's an open world, so something has to give, so you're not looking at, you know, real world images, as it were. And I think we've got the same thing with Cyberpunk. You've got to fancy Cyberpunk 27 to be an open world game, so I think we'll be looking at the same graphical sort of prowess in that game that we've seen probably in The Witcher. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, it might be being a bit harsh on it, but it didn't blow my mind graphically. But I mean, it looks great, but it didn't look to me like, whoa, that's got to be either PC or next gen, because it looks just ridiculous. It wasn't like that. But good to see it punted, though. Good to know that they're starting to push more of it out there to sort of hype people up about it. Still think we're at least a year off from that game, though, because it's not... Unless we see more of it from PlayStation or what have you over the coming days. But I still think we're a bit away off from that. At least next fall, if not later. But there was no date given. Well, maybe it's 2077. Maybe it's just called Cyberpunk and it's actually being released in 2077. There you go. On that note, people, you'll be glad to know that I can stop talking now after an hour and 10 goddamn minutes, people. Jesus Christ. My beer's going to be warm. It's your fault. God's sake. People saying, do an E3 thing, do an E3. I'm glad I did them in chunks now. I think I did it in one big video last year. Oh, that's nice. Well, there you are. I hope that's been of help to anyone who missed the conference or hasn't caught up with the bigger sites or whatever you have yet. I mean, I realise that I'm not rushing to do these. I'm trying to do them within a day of them being announced. There's already a gazillion people showing them live, doing chats after them, putting them on IGN, GameSpot, blah, you know. I mean, I'm not trying to beat people to the punch with this. Simply trying to share it with you awesome people who follow my channel who may not want to go and read through it all and just see me blab on and show off some clips behind me and get my opinion on what I saw. So it's all part of, I do them for the community I have. I'm not trying to gain more viewers from doing this sort of stuff. If I get more viewers, fantastic, you know. I'll never, ever, ever be down about the fact that I got a sub from something, people. It's a glorious thing. So there you are. I hope that's been of help to some of you. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you again in this E3 vlog, and I will be back with a mix-up or a mash-up or whatever you want to call it of Bethesda and PlayStation and maybe a bit of Ubisoft, which is on in a bit, and I will see you then. Take it easy. Bye.